Welcome to Modding Fallout New Vegas Part 8. This is going to be the last part in this series, and we're going to cover what you should do when things go wrong. So what is it that we should not do when things go wrong? Well, to steal a line from Hitchhiker's Guide, don't panic. That is probably the most important piece of advice I can give you right now. You should just stay calm and say to yourself, I am going to fix this. Do not uninstall the game, do not rush off to the mod author's page and accuse him of breaking your game. And don't be too surprised either. Don't say to yourself, oh my god, why is this happening to me? It happens to everyone. The more you mod your game, the more likely you are to eventually have some sort of problem. It's just normal. Don't worry about it. So, let's start with things that go wrong when installing. Let's say you've just downloaded your mod, you've tried to install it with Fallout Mod Manager, and Fallout Mod Manager just crashes. Ordinarily, the cause of this is a corrupt file. You've downloaded the file and some corruption has got in there while you were downloading. The easy fix for this usually is to go back to the original web page, go to the files, download new files, and try to install from that one. If you do that 2 or 3 times and still the same thing is happening, it is possible the mod author has uploaded a damaged file, so go along to his webpage and politely inform him that there is a problem. Now we're going to discuss crash on startup and how to avoid that. That is normally caused by one of 4 things. The first and probably the most common cause is a corruption in your heads-up display or menu XML. This is dead easy to fix. If you've been following the tutorials so far, you should have the Unified HUD project installed. If not, go and see part 1 of this tutorial. And you can fix HUD problems by deactivating the Unified HUD and activating it again. And there you can check which mods it is detecting. You should not change any of these, but if you are having a problem, you might want to look at these and ask yourself, do I have all of these installed? If you find one that is checked, for example, let's say Imp's powered power armor, and it's selected, but you're pretty sure that you've uninstalled that, it probably means when you uninstalled it, you left behind some files that are causing a problem. So this could give you a hint as to what the problem is. If you're pretty sure that file, that mod is not installed, deselect it. But as a general rule, whenever you activate Unified HUD project, simply leave the selections as suggested. And remember, click yes to all when it asks you. That is critically important. It's now rebuilt our menu HUD. Now, if you think it's detected a mod that you do not have or you uninstalled, you can go along to your game's data folder and go along to menus. And usually these files are found under the prefabs folder. There will be a folder in there called includes _ HUD main menu XML. If you edit that, well, open it, edit it, but do not change anything in it, you can see which mods the Unified HUD is trying to include. If any of these mods are ones you do not have, that is probably causing you the problem, and you need to uninstall those mods correctly. The second most common reason for a crash on startup is a load order problem. Something in the load order is a problem. It's got a master that is not present. If you did the part 5 of my tutorial, you should have FNV Edit installed. If not, watch that part of the tutorial now and simply run that with all the default selections, and it will tell you if you have a load order problem. If it finishes loading without any errors, that is not your problem. If it finds the error, you now know what to do. Now, the third possible cause is a problem with the game's files. If you're using the Steam version, this is very, very easy to check. Simply open up Steam, go to the games library, go to Fallout New Vegas, right click, go to Properties, Local Files, and click the Verify Integrity of Game Cache button. It will then take a few minutes and verify every one of the very important files, and if it finds a problem, it will download a new version. This has saved my games quite a few times. And the fourth reason. The fourth reason for a crash on startup I have found is a bad deinstallation of Darn's user interface. For those of you who don't know what Darn's user interface is, you can probably skip this little part or go to part 1 of my tutorial and find out. Now, if you remember from installing the Darnified user interface, you needed to add some fonts to the ini files. And if you remember, there were 3 of them that I suggested you edit. The Fallout default ini in the New Vegas game directory, and there were 2 files in your documents My Games Fallout New Vegas folder. There was the fallout.ini and the fallout prefs.ini, and if you search for fonts, you can see here that I have a section of fonts, and this, I can tell you, is the Darnified fonts. If you have uninstalled the Darnified user interface but left these fonts in, you will crash on startup. You need to reverse this. You need to put the original fonts in. Now, there are 2 ways of doing this. If you made a copy of your Fallout ini file, as I always do. Oh, wrong one. Excuse me. There we go. You can copy the fonts from one into the one you need. However, if you've not done that, again, do not panic. Do not panic. The way to fix this, if you did not make a copy of your original file, is to find, if you read the lines, you'll see the first line has a semicolon in front of it. Now that tells the game to ignore this line. Ignore it. And you'll see underneath it a line that is not ignored. Now that is the Darnified font. You can see it has the word Darn in it. If you delete any line that has the word Darn, like so, just the ones with Darn, that's very important. And again, remove all the white space, and now delete the semicolons. You will now notice I have S font file 1 all the way down to 9 once again. That is now completely repaired. It's as if Darnified UI was never installed. Do that on all 3 of the ini files you edited and save them. So, what happens if you don't crash on startup, but you've installed a new mod and nothing happens? Well, this can actually be for a lot of different reasons. But if it's a mod you've just installed, one easy thing to do is uninstall it, go back to the original site, download a new version, and install that. That's just to make sure that you didn't just get a slightly bad copy that managed to install but somehow failed. So that's the first thing to do. Now, the next thing to check is in-game if your NVSE is actually working. Now, there's a couple of ways of checking this. The official way is to press the console key. If you don't know what that is for your country's keyboard, you'll need to find out yourself. It does vary country to country. And then type in get NVSE version, as you can see I've done here, and it should tell you the NVSE version. If it's working, then you'll get that. If not, you'll get nothing. If you don't want to do that, there are a couple of other ways. If you've got other mods installed, so for example, if you've been following these tutorials, you probably have MCM installed. So when I press escape and go to the mod configuration menu, MCM is working just fine. You'll also see a host of other mods that require NVSE, and I know those are working. So that's another way of finding out if it is working. The next trick we're going to try is the clean save. Let's pretend Primary Needs HUD has been installed, was working for a while, and suddenly stopped working. Or you installed it to start with and it just didn't work when you loaded your save. We're going to do the clean save, and the way this is done is to uninstall the mod that is not working. So go to the package manager, go along to Primary Needs. With Primary Needs HUD we need to first of all deactivate Unified HUD, then deactivate Primary Needs HUD. Activate Unified HUD again, just to make sure. We've now removed Primary Needs HUD. So we now start our game. So I now load the save that is my intended clean save. I load it. Now there is no Primary Needs HUD mod now, so of course there will be no numbers, no resists, etc. So when I open up Primary iHUD, as you can see, Primary Needs has gone. I immediately press escape and save. This is a new save, and then I exit. So I now have a completely clean save. I go back to my package manager. Once again, because it's a unified mod, I deactivate Unified HUD, activate Primary Needs again, run the Unified HUD just to make sure, and once again start my game. And so I now load my totally clean save. And when I load up, it will be as if, there you go, as if Primary Needs HUD has just been installed for the first time, because essentially it has. This has given all the scripts a new chance to reboot. I've lost any settings I had, and if you do this to a mod that gives you items, for example, or quests to complete, you will be starting from scratch. All those items will be back where they started, the quests will begin anew. So this is a technique you have to use really at your own risk. It's okay for certain mods like Primary Needs HUD, because they are pretty much the same the entire game. And that is the clean save. Now another common problem people will have is where they install a mod, for example a mod that changes the texture of an item, and nothing appears in game. This is usually a problem with archive invalidation. If you go along to Fallout Mod Manager, you'll notice I have archive invalidation ticked. There are plenty of ways of achieving archive invalidation, but this is the one I recommend. So if you're installing a mod and it's just simply not appearing, just double check you've got this installed. Another typical problem is where you install a mod and when you go to find the item, there is a giant exclamation mark. I will show you how that is actually done so you'll know what the problem is. If I go to my data folder, I'm going to use my own mod, the Fiendish Power Armor, which has its own models and textures, etc. And I'm going to, instead of installing it using Fallout Mod Manager, I'm going to do something silly. I'm just going to copy some of the files, the ESP files, into the data folder. But I'm not going to copy the BSA. That is the file with all the resources. So I've just copied it like this. I need to close Fallout Mod Manager so it finds those items. And there we go. So I'm going to add, Where's the fiendish power armor? There it is, right at the top. Going to move that down a bit. And the cheat file to put it in Doc Mitchell's house. So I will now start up the game. Now this armor actually uses world objects that are part of the vanilla game. So as you can see now, it looks perfectly normal, no problem whatsoever. So I'll pick those items up. I go to my Pip-Boy and put them on. Now when I go third person to look at myself, as you can see, a giant red exclamation mark. This means the model is missing. Now be warned, the same thing happens if you're missing meshes. So it's not just mods that come with BSAs. If you're missing the meshes, if you look at the Advanced Recon Trap Detection mod, it has some meshes. Well, specifically one, the trap detector. If you install this mod and don't copy the meshes correctly, when you find that item, you will once again get the giant exclamation mark. So that's what happens when you have a missing mesh. But what happens if you have a model, you have a mesh, but you're missing a texture? Well, to show you what happens for that, I'm going to pick my new favorite armor, which is the Clint Eastwood attire, and I'm going to delete that entire folder. This is under the textures. I'm just going to delete all of those textures. I'm then going to start my game up. Now, I think you can see pretty much immediately the Clint Eastwood attire is going completely mental. So if you get something like this happening in game, you're just missing a texture. Pretty horrendous, isn't it? So what do you do if you get either of those two problems? Well, one of two things has happened. Either the mod author has forgotten to add those items to his download, and you should tell him politely, or, and this is slightly more likely, you've not followed the instructions and you've not installed the correct models and textures. And I can't tell you how to fix that because it is completely different for different mods. So go back to the individual mods page and check all the readmes, all the user manuals, etc. And don't be afraid of asking people for help, just do it in a polite manner. After all, there is no way I can give you a tutorial that will cover every eventuality, every problem. You're going to have to do some work yourself. Go to the mod author's page, read the description fully. Check the file section. Is there a user manual? When you downloaded the file, did it come with a readme with instructions? Make sure you've read them completely from beginning to end before you start asking questions. There's nothing worse than going on to the comments posting that this mod doesn't work, only to find out that you just missed something so basic that's already been covered. And if you're still in the dark, if you've read everything, post a comment, ask a question, be polite. Trust me, someone's going to help you out. If you ask nice enough, there'll be another user, or perhaps even the mod author if he's still active. They're going to help you out. And when they do, give them kudos. If you've enjoyed the mod, endorse it. And that is it for this tutorial, and in fact that is it for this series. I hope they've helped you get your game modded, and more than anything I hope they've made you more comfortable with the process of modding. I am taking a short break now. There is a new game, Deus Ex 3, that is about to come out, and I really want to take a break and play that. I am also going to be updating some of my mods, and I was going to create some quick how-to videos for my more popular mods. I was not planning on making any more of these tutorial mods that I would be uploading to Nexus with documents, etc. But a few people have requested that I do some showcase mods, and I think I might do that. There are quite a few mods out there that I think don't get the coverage they should have, so I may make some videos showing those, how to install them, how to use them, but they will be uploaded to YouTube only. And with that, I will wish you good luck in your modding endeavours, and I hope you enjoyed these tutorials.